Good evening, sir. Sadeni.
Good evening.
Bosadeni.
Where do you call my name now?
Hmm?
Where do you call my name, Mr. Siraj?
I said Adeni.
You firstly call something now before calling Adeniyi.
I said boss. I thought you were a guy.
Okay, I thought you said he. Don't let me say anything. How are you doing today? God bless you.
I was not trying to. I'm not trying to call in the first name actually because I can't call it.
Okay. Well done.
Where
Thank
is
you.
Tito?
I've been here since 8 o'clock. I've been here. Now only me day platform.
I joined 8 o'clock and then when I saw his message that we should wait, that he's trying to connect his network, that's why I left then.
Me.
Maybe the network is not giving up. It's not giving in yet. Let's wait for him a bit.
Mr. Siraj, have you done your assignment?
Do you mean the individual assignment?
Computer
I'm not done
2
my
and 2.
individual assignment. That assignment, I'm not done it.
No, I'm talking about 2 and 2 programming.
212. I did parts.
Yeah.
I did part of it.
Hey, you don't do now. Me, I've never done anything.
I bet do remain 3 days. I'll be 2 days then.
We are submitting on Saturday.
Probably I will submit tomorrow or next tomorrow, Papa.
Well, let me see you, please. Don't let you say anything here.
Boss Tomison, I see one guy now. Tomison, where he dey? You can check our group. Tomison, go and meet him.
Tomisi is not a girl, he's a man.
I said you go and meet him. I knew him. That's why I said you go and meet him.
And you see, you cannot teach me. You are referring me to Tomisi. What is this now? Don't worry. Let us finish. Let us finish this lecture. Now, me and you today, tonight.
Yeah, maybe I will leave this class very soon. If I have one class.
I bet who dey throw punch?
Huh?
I think I see some people throwing
Okay, I
blow.
already done.
I think I see some people throwing blow.
Throwing what? Blue?
Yes, now.
Where? For where?
I just heard some people that saying that na me and you.
Me and you care.
Uh,
Okay, maybe
just
na
maybe
boss Adeni. Make her call her boss again. Make she know say she boss.
we have our lecturer. I think.
I want to start something now. Where she dey? Make she come give us lecture this night. Her boss no gree come. Madam down hold am.
Yeah, Madam Eunice, please take on the class.
Madam Adeni, we dey wait for you. Take on the platform and teach us today.
Do you know that this thing is on record? You know that this thing is on record, you know?
He will call. If he come, he will cut it. He will come and cut it if he wants to post it to YouTube.
Madam Eunice, help us with the recap of last class.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Good news, sir.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Good news, sir. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, sir. Welcome, sir.
Sir, we can't
Oh,
hear you.
am I audible? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Can
you
you hear
now.
me?
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Oh, see that your mic is on. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you
Can
now,
hear.
sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir. We can. I can hear you. It's clear, sir.
All right. So let me try and open my screen. So is the screen clear? Am I visible to you? Anybody?
Yes, sir. I can hear you now.
All right. So let's just manage. So first, once again, good evening, and I welcome you all to today's session. And I want to use this opportunity to render my apologies for not being able to have a class on Wednesday, on Tuesday. That was due to an electricity failure in my area, and my solar inverter got burnt, so I couldn't use my solar that evening. So today we'll be looking at the possibility of studying 2 sessions together. I hope there will be no problem, God willing. So, in today's session, which is study session 4, module number 2, we'll be looking at the topic devices technological perspective, interaction styles, and device technological perspectives. So this is what today we'll be looking at, and I hope you are ready for that. So let's look at the introduction of this very session. Uh, it is important to know that an interaction style refers to the way users communicate and interact with a computer system. That is the interaction style. You can also call it the method through which users communicate as well as interact with systems. Usually it is based on a shared design principle that defines how input and output occur all simultaneously. Okay, so now examples are command line utility, which we all know, the CMD. We call it the CMD or the command line prompt. This is an example of what I call an interaction style, as sometimes somebody may choose to use the command line interface to command the system, or at times somebody who is not an expert can use the user graphic the graphical user interface, that is the GUI, to manipulate these. So today all our interaction or all our discussion will focus on the idea of interaction style as well as devices and technological perspective. So when talking about session, some of the objectives or the outcomes of this session is to, number one, understand the different types of interaction styles. Number two, distinguish between various interaction styles. Then explain the components of the WIMP interface. We've talked about the WIMP interface in some of our previous classes, where we say that it is the abbreviation or the short form for Windows, icon, menus, and pointers. So that is the WIMP interface. Then also we'll be looking at how to identify and choose the appropriate widgets for interface design. So this is what today's lecture will be all about. These are some of the outcomes of today's session. Now, looking at the main content, we'll be looking at the common types of interaction. Now, common types of interaction, as we know, we mentioned earlier that command line interface is one of the earliest form of interaction style as far as Windows and Linux computers are concerned. Using the command line interface, users can type commands and perform all sorts of tasks. It could be executing a particular uh, command, or it could be accessing the computer directory, or it could be accessing the computer registry. Whatever somebody wants to do, the command line utility was kind of equipped with the capacity to withstand any kind of command given. In fact, we can say that the command utility, the command line utility, is the root system of any operating system or any computing system, because it is very powerful and we can use it to execute even things that cannot be executed using the graphical user interface. And I'll give you one example. Now, if you want to what should I call this? If you want to create two partitions on your system, especially when during Windows XP and Windows 7, one has to use the command line utility because it is a very powerful command or activity. So to create two partitions, drive C and drive D, we have to use a command line in order to execute that. And command lines sometimes may include abbreviations as well as keywords, as well as symbols. And we can say that these command lines are very efficient for repetitive tasks, tasks that we have to repeat again and again. Also, it is preferred by the experts. Now, if you are working with an expert, you see that most of the experts, they rather use the command utility rather than just manipulating the user interface. Now, one of the drawbacks or disadvantages of command line utility is that it requires a lot of memorization. One has to memorize quite a number of keywords as well as abbreviations, as well as symbols for them to be able to execute. Another style of interaction is the menu-based interface, and these are displays that list options for users to choose from. We all know what menus are. Now on this my screen, there are many menus. Comment is a menu, highlight is a menu, text could be a menu. We have also considered a menu. So some of the features of the menu include reducing memory load. Now, sometimes the system does not have to recall every step one has to perform. Likewise, it is easy for beginners. People with zero experience can also use the menu interface to perform certain tasks within the system. Now, some of the methods used for the menu-based interface include the use of mouse to click on the screen, or the use of keyboards to to press on shortcuts, or sometimes the use of arrow keys to navigate from one position to another. Now, another style of interaction is the natural language interface, which enables users to interact using everyday language, such as spoken words or typed words. Now, if you remember in one of the classes, we had this similar discussion about natural language processing, where we mentioned that some of the challenges of natural language interface is the issue of ambiguity. Sometimes we call it ambiguity, but the correct pronunciation is ambiguity. Okay. And what is ambiguity? Ambiguity is that sometimes you find it challenging to differentiate between contexts. So sometimes somebody can say, let me give you a practical example. Somebody can say that, let's go to the bank. Now, if you say, let's go to the bank, this could actually confuse a system, because a bank could mean a bank where people use to save money. And sometimes it could mean the bank of the water or the bank of the river, because even bank of the river is called a bank. So sometimes we can confuse systems by having an ambiguity. Another one is vagueness. Now, sometimes some words are vague, and sometimes we may face the issue of misinterpretation. So these are the challenges of natural language processing. Then we also have another interaction style known as the query interface. Now, query interface usually works on special environments such as databases, or environments where we have to retrieve information by querying the information. So it is usually defined by system being asked a question, and then perhaps users responding step by step to the question. And this query interface is sometimes characterized by suitability for beginners. Beginners find it sometimes suitable use because it's just a matter of command. But even though it is considered suitable, but there is limited flexibility. And like I said, it is commonly associated with databases, as well as environments such as the SQL Server, that's the structured query language. Now, another example of interaction style is the form fill. Now, the form fills interface resemble a paper kind of form, something that allows you to fill in information. Okay, let's see what is happening in the group. So somebody said he's in the class, but he cannot hear anything. Please, am I the only one? Please, can somebody respond to us? One person is saying he cannot hear anything. Can you please confirm whether you cannot hear? Please, can somebody confirm? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir, we are hearing you. I'm hearing you in my own side.
Please, somebody should reply that gentleman by telling him that maybe he's having a network problem. I believe so. So let me share my screen. And here, the coffee from North America, if somebody wants to have it.
Can you wear Billy Sam?
Yes, sir. Please pass it.
By the way, it's for sale. I'll post it in your group so that if anybody likes to order. It came all the way from Mexico. And by
Before we can buy, you're
from the
supposed to give us taste now. You will taste before buying anything. You give us the taste
very
first.
smart always. Women, you like everything for free. Women, why now? Everything you want it for free. Women. Kai. Now wow. Network is not allowing me to share my screen, but I will keep on trying. Even myself, I did not buy. Somebody gave it to me to taste, and it tastes very, very good. I'm still trying to screen. I don't know why it's taking this long time. Perhaps maybe I have to change my location from next class, since my location is having difficulty with connectivity. I'll switch to another technology. Please stay with me and bear with me as well. I wish you people are having the textbook with you. I would have just continued without having to share my screen, because sharing the screen is also making it difficult for the connectivity to live stream. Do you all have the book with you?
I have with me.
Do you all have? Let me try to switch to another network. And we have 4 networks here in front of me, 2 Wi-Fi's and 2 local network, but still I'm having a lot of difficulty here. I'm sharing now. Can you see?
No, sir, the thing just rolling. The thing is rolling like this, rolling. On you do.
So I think we are back. So we're talking about the field form interfaces, which resembles papers, as you can see here on the screen. It allows you to enter information in form of data entry, and sometimes it allows you to retrieve information. So it's just like the paper form of uh, let me say paper form of information data, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is also another interaction interface. And we also have what we call the spreadsheets. I believe we are all aware of what a spreadsheet is. A spreadsheet is usually generated by Excel Word document, I mean Excel document from the Microsoft package. Now they are usually grilled in some kind of rows and columns, which allows you to enter data in vertical as well as horizontal order. And sometimes they are associated with what we call cells, and those cells are the ones that contain our data as well as our formulas. And whenever we use a spreadsheet can support the use of calculations as well as automatic update for information as well as retrieval of data as well. And some of the spreadsheets can also work with query languages, because sometimes they enable us to retrieve data from databases. Now, another one is called point and click interface. Now, point and click interface may actually look a little bit older because these are interfaces that allow us to click on icons or links. They are not very common, but they are sometimes found on browsers, web browsers, as well as multimedia systems. We also have another type of interaction style, which is the use of three-dimensional interface. Now, three-dimensional interface has always been in our discussion previously because we talked about reality as one of the ways we can communicate in modern computer ages. It enables people to almost and practically become visual in a 3D form in order to establish a communication. Now we have the one we call the WIMP, which is the Windows icon, menus, and pointer, which has become the modern day graphical user interface, which allows us to control our systems without having any difficulty of writing what do you call it, words or typing syntax and so on and so forth. Now, icons, as you all know, are usually used for selecting or for controlling items. We click on icons, we open icons so that they give us the information behind the function. We also have our pointers, which rely on our mouse as well as a trackpad or joystick or sometimes a trackball. We also mentioned trackball in our previous classes. Then we have the cursor keys, which is also on the keyboards. And then we have the keyboard shortcuts and so on and so forth. Then we have the menus, which also help us in our choice of operations or services. And that, as you know, these menus, they have what we call the, what do they call this? Let me see if I can remember. I can't recall the word. Aha, we call them pull down menu, or sometimes we call them drop down menu. So usually menus come with all form of things. They have drop downs, they have pull downs, they have fold downs, and so on. All these are under the context of menus. We also have what we call keyboard accelerators. This comprises of key combination with same effect as menu. Okay, they also work like menus because they help us close and open certain activities or tasks within the system. Now, let's go to dialog box. Dialog boxes contain information that usually pop up the screen to inform us of certain events or perhaps warnings. Sometimes we get a warning through these pop-ups, and sometimes they tend to provide us with interface such as wizards to be able to navigate through a particular environment. So these are some of the work of the dialog boxes. Now, let me see what else haven't we discussed. So they help us with notifications. Okay, sometimes dialog box serve as a notification channel for easy communication. They play that role as well. And then what else? These are some of the pictures, or these are some of the example of this stuff. Okay. So moving forward, we'll be looking at the next type of interaction style, which is understanding and choosing our widgets. Now, most people sometimes don't even know they use the widgets, especially on our mobile devices. Let me quickly show you some example of widgets. Now you see this date, the date and time on my screen is actually an example of widget. Now let me show you another example of a widget. Let me see if I can. Aha. Now, these are some other examples of widgets. Now we have several. Oh my God, what did I just pull out? Aha. So we have several examples of these widgets. We have widgets for calendar. We have widgets for applications. We have widgets for many things. So these widgets, sometimes we hang them on our screen so that they work in certain ways. For example, let's use one type of widget. Let me see. Now, let's use this one. This is for audio. Now, when I create this widget, usually I can use this to turn on music without having to go into the application itself. So simply clicking on my screen right now on the widget, actually go directly. I can just play music any point in time, but I have to close this. I don't need it. So this is an example of a widget. So this widget also serves as a graphical interface that allows you to manipulate or to navigate through your system without having much difficulty, okay? And there are three key aspects related to these widgets. The first one is their appearance, how they actually look. Sometimes they look transparent, sometimes they look translucent, depending on the settings of the device. And sometimes they work with fonts, colors, and styles, and so on. Now, we also have another aspect of them, which is their behavior. Sometimes the way they behave depends on the timing as well as how they are managed or how they are set to work. Some can work in the background while some cannot work in the background, okay? And we also have another aspect of them, which is the semantic. And semantics always talks about meaning. But semantics in this context is talking about menus, buttons, etc. that do things as desired by the user. So when we enable a widget, sometimes they come with certain functionalities depending on how we want the function to work. Now, the next one is choosing the right widget. Now, choosing the right widget depends on individual preferences. Some people choose certain things over others because of one reason or another, and all could be individual differences. But sometimes these are choices that are defined by the meaning of what they represent, or sometimes by the appearance, or sometimes by the behavior. Now, if we go back a little bit backward to my widgets, for example, I can choose certain widgets based on the appearance, or based on the behavior, or based on the meaning they carry, you know. So each and every one of these clocks are all clocks. They are all clocks and they all provide information related to time. But each and every one of them has something special that makes me choose one. So my apologies. Somebody was trying to call. I hope the person doesn't call again. So I think with this, we come to the end of this particular session. All we have here is just a conclusion and summary. We don't have time to go through that. So we have successfully completed module 2, study number 4. Now we are jumping into module 3, study session number 1. Now, before we move, let me ask if there is any question, but if there is no question, then we'll just proceed to the next study session. I'll give you a moment. go through and let me know whether you have a question or not. So I guess no question. So we'll be looking at study session number 1 under module number 3, where we'll be looking at the design guidelines, rules, and principles in human-computer interaction. Now, when talking about design guidelines, we are talking about some of the ethics as well as rule of the thumbs which we have to follow when designing certain systems for human-computer interaction. So designing a good user interface requires clear guidance. This is why we need those guidance. Otherwise, we may end up messing up the things rather than making them better. So what this session is trying to do is to explain those guidelines that we must follow, those rules that we must apply, as well as those principles we must maintain in order to design effective systems. And this help us make consistent decisions as well as avoid repeating the same design problem again and again. And of course, improve usability, which is our number 1 priority. Anything we do as far as human-computer interaction is concerned, we look at usability above any other function. And then, of course, we need something that is friendly as well as cost effective, and of course less complex. These are some of the things we need to look at. So in this study session, we should be able to learn about how to select the appropriate design guideline, how to monitor guidelines and carry out prototype testing, translate guidelines into design rules. Then we need to also understand the concepts of we need to identify the importance of documenting the design rules, which is important. Then we need to also explain the various types of design rules, and lastly, know how to use the design rules effectively. Now, design guidelines, as mentioned earlier, are general suggestions that help in designing user interfaces for users to utilize in order to have satisfaction as well as friendliness in using whatever system they have at hand. Now, when we look at these design principles, there are of 2 types actually. We have the abstract guidelines or principles that are applicable during early design life cycle activities. We also have the detailed guidelines, otherwise known as style guides, that are applicable during the later system life cycle activities. So these are very important to understand. Abstract guidelines, usually we call them abstract because they are not visible at the moment. Okay, they are rules that are not visible to us. They are general in nature and they are used in the early stage of the design phase. Then we have the detailed guidelines. Let me call them the style guidelines, which are more specific in nature and are considered to be used during the middle as well as the end of design process. Now, the next thing is selection of design guidelines. How do we select a design guideline? Because not all guidelines apply to every system. So this is why we need to understand how do we select a particular design guideline. Now, remember, different systems have different configurations, they have different system requirements, they have different environments, and likewise different users. So not all rules apply to these system designs. Sometimes back, I was a counselor. I worked in a counseling firm as a marriage counselor. There is one rule of the thumb which we always apply during our counseling sessions, that what that solution A may not be necessarily applicable to person X, but it may be applicable to person Y. So it's very important to understand that the medicine that cures you might not cure my illness, because we have different types of body, we have different types of how our body assimilates or ingest things. So this is why we say not every guideline applies to every system. Now, there are key points that we need to observe here. Choosing the relevant guidelines is very important, because not all guidelines work. And sometimes some guidelines may even conflict with other guidelines. So at times we need to have a balance when choosing our guidelines, because some of these guidelines may conflict with one another. However, there is also the issue of time and budget, which may also limit our choice. Some of these guidelines may be more costly than others, and the time it takes to build certain systems using a particular guideline may take longer than others. So it's very important to remember that. So who are involved in this design guideline? So number one, we can say the first person is the system analyst. System analyst is fully responsible for this. We also have the designers who implement. We have the managers who manage the entire work. And then we have the human factor as experts who are very good with people and they understand the requirements of the users. So they are there on behalf of the users to observe and to give feedback. Then we also have the end users, that is us, who always use the system at the very end of its production line. Now, moving forward, we have expertise, experience versus guidelines. Now, when we talk about expertise, we're talking about mastery in a particular environment or in a particular field or domain. So guidelines sometimes are helpful, but still, even though we have guidelines, but sometimes they cannot replace experience. Now, an experienced designer is a person who we believe has skills in this aspect of design. So sometimes, even though they are good, but still, sometimes they may not be able to work effectively without guidelines. So sometimes do not be overtaken by the pride of being an expert in a particular field, but yet sometimes one cannot replace experience. So experience and expertise as well as guidelines go hand in hand. So it is very important for an expert to know how to apply those guidelines properly, and guidelines should always be easy to access. Do not make things difficult. Now, what are the roles of the expert? The role of the expert is to ask the right question, to adopt the right guidelines to a particular situation, and to also balance conflicting requirements. This is why we have the expert. The expert has the experience, he has the working hours, and he has all the things that it takes to identify when something is not in order. Next is about monitoring the guidelines as well as the prototype testing. So it is said that guidelines should be applied early in the design. Why do we have to apply them early in the design? Because we need to set a good foundation even before the main work begins. Now, what are the key steps to doing that? Number one is to understand the users as well as the tasks. Then we also apply the guidelines where the guidelines are necessary. Then we create a prototype. Now, creating a prototype also give us an idea on whether the guidelines are working or not. Then we have to test the design on real users, because with real users, we can go for improvement of our design. So it is very, very important. Now, moving forward, we have the translation of selected guidelines into design rules. Now, when talking about translating guidelines into design rules, we say that guidelines are general, but sometimes they must be made specific. And I'll give you an example. A guideline states that design should be consistent, but the design rule says that title must be entered and then the font must be bold. Now you see, these are guidelines, these are design rules, while the first is a guideline. Now, let me say this again so that you don't get confused. We're dealing with an example where we have a guideline as well as a design rule. The guideline says design should be consistent. Meaning the design certain network is back. Somebody keeps calling and I keep telling the person I'm busy, but the person is still calling. Anyway, let's continue. So in this example, we say that we have guidelines as well as design rules. Now in our guidelines, we say that design should be consistent, meaning that design must adhere to certain conditions. But design rule says that, yes, I agree, but we must be title of a particular headline must be centered as well as bold. And sometimes the error message must appear at the bottom. Now, these are some design rules. They are not guidelines actually, but they work hand in hand. Both guidelines and rules work hand in hand in order to have a consistent design and to also balance the conflict between the two rules. Now, let's talk about design rules. Now, design rules are specific instructions derived from guidelines. So somebody would ask, what is the difference between rules? Oh my God, I think I'm having issue with light. Please just give me a second. Go. Go, shut up. So let's continue. So I was saying that what is the difference between rules and guidelines? Rules and guidelines. Now, the difference between rules and guidelines are that rules are derived from guidelines. Okay, so when we say rule, we can say that rules are suggested practicals designed for flexibility, while rules sometimes are official and they are binding in nature. These are formal these are formal policies that we design in order to safeguard a particular principle. But guidelines sometimes can be flexible and they are not official sometimes, and they can be broken, but rules cannot be broken. So when we are talking about design rules, we are talking about those type of rules that provide a specific instructions, and those instructions are derived from guidelines. Now let's look at the type of design rules that we have. Now, the first type of design rule is what we call the rule based on principle, rules based on principle. And they say this comprise of abstract design rules, rules based on law authority, and those based on high generality. Okay, so in essence, we can say that rules based on principles are general and abstract, and they are law authority. Okay, meaning that they do not carry significant punishment, or they do not carry significant power in them. Then we have the rules based on standards. Okay, now let me get back a little bit. When somebody talks about principle, even principles sometimes are broken. Somebody will tell you that my principle is that I cannot have 2 glasses of alcohol at once. But one day he got naughty and then he takes even more. So you see, rule-based rules, or let me say rules based on practice on principles are very low authority because they can be broken. Now we have rules based on standards. These are rules that are very specific and they are high authority but limited use. They are limited use. They are limited in terms of application. They don't apply to everything. They apply to to selected uh, items or entities. Then we have what we call rules based on guidelines, or rules derived from guidelines. And these rules, these are rules of lower authority, but of more general application. Okay, they are more practical, but widely applicable. Now, moving forward. In moving forward, we'll be talking about documentation and implementation, as well as evaluation of these design rules. Now, when talking about documentation, documentation uh, has to do with writing down all the rules and then sharing those rules with the design team, and sometimes they require regular updates. So when we're talking about documentation, we're talking about putting those ideas into writing in order to make them more standard. And however, they are updated regularly because sometimes rule change due to certain condition, or sometimes due to different um, scenarios. Then implementation is also another important aspect of this session, which help us apply rules during design. So when we talk about implementation, we're talking about applying those rules during the design process and ensuring that they are consistent. We also have the issue of handling um, handling exceptions, okay? Meaning that not all rules apply to all situations, okay? Not all rules apply to all situations. And sometimes this allowed for controlled um, situations whereby certain things are made exceptions in order not to compromise, or in order not to affect uh, certain things, or sometimes to do with conflicting rules. So sometimes we make exceptions so as to avoid conflict. Now, moving forward, we have using the design rules. Now, when talking about using the design rules, we're talking about applying them uh, practically. Now, since design rules suggest how to increase usability, they may differ in generality and authority. Therefore, we must note that there exist various standards that guarantee uniformity of application, and some of those existing standards are. Now, what is this trying to say is that these rules are not just applied up heart. Sometimes we follow certain rules as well in order to use the rules. Now, what are these rules that we follow? They are called standards. Now, these standards include, let me say, one of the examples of standard is the ISO 9241. ISO 9241. Okay. Now, this is a particular standard we all know is common, and the ISO stands for International Standard Organization. Is a body or an agency, an international one, that governs, that provide rules, that provide standards, that ensure standards, that evaluate standards in order to conform with the rules, or in order to make sure that things are in conformity uh, with the benchmark or with the standard proceedings. Okay, and then of course we have hardware standards, and these are also more common than software standard. They are of high authority and low level of details. Okay, and that what else? We also have others such as the Norman's 7 principles. We discussed it previously. We have the Schneiderman's 8 golden rules. We also discussed that in some of the early classes. We also have the Nielsen's 10 heuristics, which is also something we studied in the past. Okay, so that is that. Now we even have the Schneiderman's 8 golden design rules. Let's look at them quickly. Now, one says strive for consistency, meaning that we need to ensure consistency is achieved. Enable frequent users to use shortcuts, and then offer informative feedback is self-explanatory. Then design dialogues to yield closure. Then we have offer error prevention and simple error handling. These are all rules of design. Permit easy reversal of actions, such as the use of Control Z to undo certain activities. Then we have the support for internal locus of control. Then lastly, we have the reduced short-term memory load. Now, reducing short-term memory load can enable us to manage memory space as well as maximize system optimization as well as system speed. We also have another design principle under the Norman's 7 design principle, which says use both knowledge in the world and knowledge in the head, meaning that use your experience and as well as guidelines. This is what this is implying. Then simplify the structure of tasks. Do not make things complex. Make things visible so that they are very clear to understand. Then get the mapping right. Then exploit the power of constraint, both natural and artificial. Design for error. When all else fails, then standardize, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the principles. Now, we also have the design principles formulated to support usability. These are rules that purposely address the issue of usability. And the first one is the principle of learnability. In the principle of learnability, this is the ease with which new users can begin effective interaction and achieve maximum performance, meaning that a system should be able to provide a learnable environment, something that will aid non-technical users to have access to system and still perform excellently, even though probably they are new to the system or not. Then we have the principle of flexibility, which says these are the multiplicity of ways the users and system exchange information. Now, this means providing multiple options for user to be able to handle issues. Then we have the principle of robustness, and this is the level of support provided by the user in determining successful achievement and an assessment of goal-directed behavior. So the next is um, predictability. This is determining the effect of future actions based on past interaction history and its operation visibility. Now, this is talking about the ability of the system to remember how the user has performed a task in the past, so that in the future they can actually make the task even easier. The next one is synthesizability. That is this is the accessing uh, the effect of past actions, its immediate and its eventual honesty, from the word synthesis, synthesization, or synthesizability. Then there's also the issue of familiarity, which makes prior knowledge applies to new system and how easy one can guess its affordance, generalizability. Okay, this is the extending specific interaction knowledge to a new situation. In short, making the system familiar so that even with previous knowledge, somebody can be able to access the system without difficulty. Then the idea of consistency is also another principle, which is concerned with the likeliness in input and output behavior arising from similar situations or task objectives. Then we have the principles of flexibility, which comprise of dialogue initiative. And this is the freedom from system imposed constraint on input dialogue, and it compares the system against the user preemptiveness. So this is also talking about the idea of interaction from the past as well as the present. We also have the multi-threading, which is a feature within the operating system. And this is expressing the ability of the system to support user interaction more than one task at a time. Some users tend to execute different tasks at once. Somebody may be using calculator at the same time the person is playing music. So this is the idea of multi-threading. Then we have the idea of task migratability, which is the process of passing responsibility for task execution between users and system. Now we have the issue of substitutability, which allows equivalent value of input and output to be substituted for each other, and it compares representation, multiplicity, and equal opportunity. So the next one is the issue of customizability, being able to customize the system to your own need, to your own desire, or to ensure modification of system when need be. We also have the observability, that is the ability of the user to evaluate the internal state of the system from its perceivable representation. These are very, very abstract. And then we also have recoverability, that is the ability of the system to recover when things go wrong. We also have the issue of responsiveness, and this is how users perceive the rate of communication with the system and how stable is the response. So responsiveness has to come from the aspect of performance. If the system performs well, then of course response is also perfect. Then we have the task conformance. This explains the degree to which system services support all users' tasks, the task completeness, and its adequacy. So in essence, we can say that tasks must conform to certain services that support all user tasks. So this, I think, we also have come to the end of this chapter or this study section, which is also quite tough. You have to go through it and see how you to understand these principles, and they are very, very confusing. So one has to give time to them for you to be able to understand clearly. Now, by attempting to study these 2 sessions, I guess we need not to have a makeup class because we have already filled in that missing void, because we have covered that which we have missed. So now we are back on track and we are going according to plan. So in our next session, we'll be looking at study session 2 under module number 3, where we'll be looking at the evaluation method. So I guess in the next few lectures, maybe 3 lectures, I think we should be able to complete this entire lecture so that you can be preparing for your exam. So in essence, in your next class, we are to look at evaluation methods to see how different evaluation techniques play a role in ensuring an efficient system design. So if time permits and if we can, maybe this from next week we'll be looking at studying 2 sessions per day rather than 1 session. Or if one of the sessions is short, then definitely we'll just put 2 sessions together and treat them all in one day. So with this, if there's any question or contribution, you are welcome to do so. And I hope you are also attempting your assignments. There was one student who reported that she didn't assign any group due to her problem with the LMS. I don't know whether I should just couple her with one group, but I'm looking into that. After confirmation, I will do that as well. If you're listening, just remember that I have not forgotten about you. And as soon as I'm ready, I will let you know. Thank you very much. So if anybody has any question or anything they like to add, they are free to do so. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sir, okay, sir. Sir, you can add the
Yes, good
person
evening.
to. Yes, sir. Thank you for the today's class, sir. Sir, you can add the person to group 15, sir. Because in my group there is no one that is replying since, so I'm the only one.
Okay.
I've been calling their
What is
attention.
what is
They are
your
not
group?
group 15, sir.
What is your group?
Group 15.
Group
15, sir.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Group 15. Did you say group 15?
Yes, sir. Group 15.
Okay. Okay, no problem. And please let me take your phone number. Maybe the student can contact you and then initiate a contact. What's your number, please?
Sir, is it my WhatsApp number or my
Yeah, your WhatsApp
call
number
line?
so that the student can reach out to you.
Okay, sir. 081
081
70 78 40.
78
Yes, sir. 40.
78.
40.
Hello, are you there? 78
Yes, 78 40. Can you
78
hear me, sir?
40. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
78 40.
Yes, 1161.
1161.
Yes, sir.
1161. All right. So I will let
Yes,
her
sir.
know that if people are short of one person, so she can she can just manage with the group. I hope that will work for her. All right.
Okay.
So
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
call it a day. Thank you so much, and my sincere apologies for all this network problem. We're in Nigeria, I thank God. So if this is another class in abroad, then I'm in trouble. But God is kind. We're all Nigerians. So thank you so much. So, Madam, I want to go now. Can I go? Where is our Madam? Maybe she's not with us now. So, thank you very much, and I will
Who
upload the
is
video so
Madam,
that.
sir? Is it me? Are you talking about me,
So,
sir?
yeah, I'm talking about you, of course.
Ah,
I'm talking about you. Is it raining in your area?
the network or what?
So the network is bad. Let's just call it a day. So I'll upload the video, and
Okay,
then you
sir.
guys
Good
can
night, sir. Thanks for
see what you
today's
have
lecture.
missed.
God bless you, sir.
So thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, sir.
And you
Our
too,
regards
sir.
to Madam.
Thank you, sir.